storytelling is your superpower. And just like the best movie you've ever seen, you remember how it made you feel. Not the camera angle, not the lighting, but the feeling. In a world full of tips, tricks, and templated content, your story is the one thing no one else has. Hello, and welcome back to another episode on the Beauty Industry Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Kennedy, and today we are diving deep into something that has completely transformed the way I connect with my audience and convert followers into loyal clients. And that's storytelling. If your content is starting to feel a little stale, like you're always posting the same before and afters, brand photos, tips, and generic how-tos, and you're wondering why no one's engaging, booking in, or buying, this is the episode you need. The secret to standing out isn't always posting more. It's posting with intention. It's not about shouting louder or pushing harder. It's about sharing real stories that connect, educate, and build trust without feeling salesy. Because when you tell a powerful story, you're not just creating content. You're providing value. You're showing your audience what's possible through lived experience and also positioning yourself as an authority while doing it. I'm about to take you behind the scenes of what's been working really well for me and my clients lately and how you can start implementing it immediately. But before we dive in, it's been over 3 months since I recorded a live episode, so I thought it was about time that I gave you a bit of a personal update, what's been happening behind the scenes, what I've been working on, and some big shifts in business and life lately. So let's rewind to August. I kicked things off by heading to Beauty Expo and the Australian Beauty Industry Awards in Sydney, which is always a massive source of inspo and industry connection. Straight after that, I went down to Albany for Father's Day with the fam. Always good to reset and soak up some slower vibes, although not really. Bowling is usually madness all the time. In September, I jetted off to Vietnam to celebrate my mum's birthday, which was really beautiful. And after the trip, I headed back to Albany again to drop mum off. And we also did some much needed hiring at Wild West Bowling. So we now have a new manager on board, plus some casuals ready to support us through school holidays and the busy season ahead. So that's a huge win. Now, on the beauty industry leaders front, it's just been as wild in the best way. We ordered our first round of custom merch and, well, the diaries turned out amazing, but the pens arrived with no branding. They forgot to send the stickers and they threw in a bunch of luggage tags with the wrong logo. You seriously can't make this stuff up, but hey, it's part of the behind the scenes fun, right? If you haven't already seen the video, go to my Instagram at Sammy Kennedy Coach and have a look through me doing my unboxing video, because you will just start to see the drama unfolding as I realize what I ordered versus what I got, they were two completely different things. So we hosted the Beauty Industry Leaders Podcast dinner, which was a huge success with 22 people who attended. And it was such an incredible night with amazing conversations and connections. Now, that was back when we had 10,000 downloads, but now we've already hit 14,000 downloads. So if you have been listening into the weekly episodes, sharing it with friends, or sending me messages about what you've been loving, I just want to take a moment and say thank you so much. When you're recording episodes for a podcast, you're just talking into a screen. No one's there to show you their reaction. No one's there to give you feedback. And so you don't know if people are loving it or not. So every time that you subscribe, you follow, you share it with someone, you send me a message, it honestly means the world, because it's not like social media where you can comment, like, save, share. Like, you don't know if it's working or not, but obviously something is working, right? So thank you for being a part of this. Now, off the back of that, I'm also excited to say that we've sold out 50% of spots for the retreat, which is wild considering how early we are in the lead up. Going back to when I went to Vietnam with my mum, we actually went to the Schiller Monogram together and spent a few days there. And I was able to meet with the sales team, see the conference room in person, and just finalize everything. And I can't even put into words how excited I am. Like the people that are coming in terms of the attendees, but also the guest speakers, it's just going to be something that the industry has never seen. So if you're sitting on the fence and you're like, oh, do I do it? Do I not? Like, I get it. Vietnam is that little bit further away than Bali, but also the venue, the people, the knowledge, the experience, the vibes, it's something that you're not going to get anywhere else. So if you're thinking about it, like, don't think about it for too long because you might miss out on your spot. On the personal finance front, I had a goal of hitting $10,000 invested in shares by the end of this year. And I've already passed that. So currently we're sitting at 12K invested and counting. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because if you're someone who hasn't thought about your investing journey and you're working so hard, your business is making money, but you don't know what to do with your money. And so you're always spending it. I actually started thinking about where do I want to invest the profits that I make in my business? And so I started putting it in an ETF, and to date I've made $1,800 in profit off that. So if you're looking at what can I actually do with my profits in my business, instead of just always spending it on more stock or more upgrades and this and that, obviously certain things in your business, yes, they can bring a greater return, but I would also highly encourage you to start thinking about like, where are you investing your money so that you can build long-term wealth? Because watching my parents grow up, seeing people around me who work so hard and they have businesses and they make money, but then by the time they go to sell their business, they have nothing to show for it. Like that is a trap that I wanted to avoid, hence why I started my investing journey and have been talking about it. Now, the Beauty Industry Leaders website is almost ready to launch finally. And we've signed on a bunch of amazing new clients lately, helping with everything from profitable pricing to marketing strategies, launch planning. I've been working with some educators and trainers, setting up their growth ecosystems and the back end so everything is automated and they're not having to do everything manually and burn out. It's honestly been a dream to work with such high caliber people. And we've also secured a new studio space for the Beauty Industry Leaders podcast. And I'm in the middle of setting it up so we can level up the production quality and go next level pro with our episodes moving forward. Now, if you haven't seen on my Instagram, every time I record one of these podcast episodes, I've basically got to rearrange my entire studio apartment. So I've got to flip my desk around. I've got to put blankets on the mirrors of my wardrobes. It's actually quite a big job to do. Hence why I feel some resistance to recording episodes, because it does feel like a lot to get set up. But I also know this is the start of my journey. And so for me, investing in a better podcast studio, having that space, being able to level up everything, it shows the level that I'm playing at. Like I want podcasting to be my full-time thing. And I sat there thinking about it going, oh, is that even a real thing? I don't know. I'm going to find out how to make it happen. I'll keep you updated as I go through the journey. Oh, and if that wasn't enough, our pet bull, Brucey Brahman. So if you're not up to date, my family and I have had a pet bull from the time he was pretty much born, and he's now 8 years old. And so my dad brought him home one day and I saw him and go, what the hell is this bull doing here? I thought it was a cow at the time, but as time's gone on, Dad has documented his journey growing up, and, throughout COVID, people were staying home and Dad was taking this bull for walks on the beach and just documenting all the little naughty things he would get up to, like coming into our house. And he's been very consistent with content across the years, let me say. At the start of this year, I think maybe Bruce had 10,000 followers. But, what's wild is that he's gone from 18,000 followers to 35,000 followers in the last 2 weeks. And so Bruce is now officially a viral sensation. Wild West Energy is going global. He has been on the news. He's been in local newspapers. He's the face of Wild West bowling. Like this bull, he has more audience trust connection than all of my platforms put together, to be honest with you. But if you want something funny to go look up and have a laugh at, go onto Facebook and type in Brucey Brahman and you'll probably be able to see by the time this episode goes up, he might be at 50K, who knows. And to top it all off, Wild West Bowling has also been nominated as a finalist for Themed Venue of the Year at the Australian Hospitality Awards for Excellence in WA. We're up against some of the biggest, most established venues in the state, and honestly, even just being nominated is such an incredible win. It's a real pinch me moment for sure, because I was like, you know what, we have worked so hard for this, like, let's put in an application and just see what happens. And my dad was very anti doing it. He's like, they're all rigged and, it's just going to be doing this and they're probably going to choose someone. And I just said, nah, let's just make it happen. Like, we can do this. And so I spent some time writing up our application and I put it forward and didn't hear anything for a while. I know that they have their whole process they go through. And I think there was like literally one day where I was like, I wonder if we'll get in. And then that night I got the email and I was like, yes. So it's really cool. We've got those awards in just under a month now, so it's a good excuse to get dressed up and go to the Crown. So yeah, it's been a big few months, and now that you're all caught up, let's dive into today's episode on the power of storytelling and how it can change the way you show up, connect, and convert in your marketing. So here's the problem. Too many beauty business owners are playing it safe. They show the finished result, they share tips, they promote sales, but it's all surface level. It lacks the emotional depth that turns casual scrollers into devoted buyers. Now, let me paint this picture for you. Imagine you're at Beauty Expo and you're sitting in the business lounge watching some presentations. One person talks in buzzwords and gives you all these stats, and another tells you a real, raw story about their first year in business. The failures, the breakthrough moment, and how they got to where they are. Who are you more likely to remember? Exactly. We don't connect with perfection. We connect with relatability. People don't just buy results. They buy emotion. They buy the journey. They buy you. Storytelling bridges the gap between attention and trust. And trust is the currency of conversion. Now, before we jump into this framework, let's zoom out for a moment. Why is storytelling so important? Because it's how we've communicated, taught, and connected for thousands of years. Long before social media, long before marketing, even long before written language, humans passed on knowledge, culture, and life lessons through stories. Think about it. Every family has that one person who captivates the room at Christmas lunch or a dinner party. The one whose stories make you laugh, cry, or sit in total silence because you're so drawn in. They're not necessarily the smartest or most successful person in the room. They're just great at telling a story. Storytelling is memorable because it activates emotion, imagination, and memory. It allows people to feel instead of just consume. And yes, some people are naturally gifted storytellers. But if you're thinking, that's not me, good news, storytelling is a skill. Like any muscle, it can be trained and strengthened with practice, reflection, and structure. Now, let me tell you about the moment I truly realized the power of storytelling. I'd flown all the way to Sydney for a 3-day business event. I was the youngest person in the room by about 15 to 20 years, and honestly, I didn't feel like I fit in there. Now, when they were doing the presentations throughout the day in the conference room, I remember the cold aircon was blasting. I was freezing. Like, I just had completely mentally checked out. Then this woman named Caitlin walked up on stage and started sharing her story. She wasn't pitching. She wasn't selling. She was simply telling a story about when she competed in a bodybuilding competition. She spoke about training relentlessly, tracking every calorie, chasing perfection. There were days where she just wanted to give up, when she forgot why she even started, but she pushed through because she feared what it would mean if she quit. She was driven by external pressure, by the promise she'd made to others, by the fear of being seen as a failure. And then the day came. She stepped on stage, won first place in multiple categories, and should have been riding the high, but instead, she felt empty. That moment, she thought, would define her validate her, make it all worth it, fell flat because the internal fulfillment wasn't there. The win was loud, but inside she felt quiet. And that's when she realized that real success is about more than external wins. It's about internal alignment, feeling proud of yourself along the way, not just at the finish line. It's about purpose, not just praise, about celebrating the small moments so the big ones mean something. And I remember sitting there just stunned. I hadn't done a bodybuilding comp, but I had just finished competing in Miss Universe, and I knew exactly what she was talking about. I had been chasing the exact same thing, external validation to fix an internal void. And suddenly, I didn't feel so alone. Her story didn't just speak to me, it reached into me. I walked up to her afterward and asked her for her help. Now, that one story changed everything for me. And that is the power of storytelling, which brings me to the 5S storytelling framework. So this is a simple framework that you can use to actually pull apart your own stories and make them engaging, packed with value, and actually have some kind of structure. So they're just not you randomly talking, which is, you know what, I'm pretty good at doing that. I will just kind of side quest here and there, but actually having this framework has definitely helped me become a better storyteller. And so I want to gift this to you so that you can start leveraging your own knowledge, experience, results, so that you can connect with other people and you can help them as well. So the first S in this framework is start. I want you to think about, where were you before? Like, what was going on? Who was there? How are you feeling? Like, where does this story start? Now, it doesn't have to be, when I first left high school and then I decided to study this and that. It's just like, think about one specific thing in your life. It doesn't have to be in chronological order. It can just be that moment that led you to whatever the breakthrough was or the challenge. The second S is struggle. So I want you to get really clear on what was the challenge or the conflict? What were you struggling with? How were you feeling at the time? The third S is switch. So this is usually referred to as your pivotal moment. Like, what was the turning point? Or for some of us, it actually might be the breaking point. What had to happen for you to realize that you needed to make a change? The fourth S is solution. So what actually helped you change? What did you do? Who was it that helped you? How did you show up differently? And then the fifth S is significance. So from this whole experience, what did you learn? How is your life different now? So when you're going through all of these S's, what I like to do is actually write each of them down. So start, struggle, switch, solution, significance. And then for each S, I'll actually go, okay, well, what was a description of what happened at the time? And then for the second point, I want to talk about, what emotions was I feeling? And the reason why we want to tap into the emotion side is because we are humans. We feel emotions. And so being able to talk about what happened and how we felt, that is what creates the connection. So I want to give you an example of this 5S framework in its full effect. So you can see how I would actually promote, let's say, a client who was struggling with acne through storytelling instead of just saying acne clearing special or book in your acne consultation today. So the start, what we're going to do is we're going to paint the picture and set the scene here. Sarah was 24, working full time and had been struggling with breakouts for over 5 years. She'd tried every over-the-counter product, booked in with her GP and was eventually referred to a dermatologist, but nothing felt like a long-term fix. She was frustrated and exhausted, emotionally worn down by the constant cycle of trial and error. It was like constantly painting over cracks in the wall without ever addressing the foundation underneath. So that's our start. Now we want to move into the second S, which is the struggle. So we've got to reveal the real. This is where the human connection happens. So let's say the dermatologist put her on medication that helped temporarily, But as soon as she stopped, the breakouts came back worse. Her self-confidence plummeted. She started avoiding mirrors, skipping social events, and feeling ashamed of her appearance. It was like putting a Band-Aid on a deep wound and pretending it was healed. The acne wasn't just a skin issue anymore. It was affecting her entire life, from how she showed up at work to how she felt in her own body. Now we're going to move into the third S, which is switch. So what we're talking about here is what changed. Was it a realization? Was it a mentor? Was it a skin therapist? What was her rock bottom moment? One night after another emotional breakdown in the bathroom mirror, Sarah realized something needed to change. She didn't want a quick fix. She wanted healing. She wanted to understand her skin, not fight against it. That's when she found a local skin therapist. Someone who actually listened, took the time to assess her skin, her lifestyle, her stress levels, her routine, and for the first time, she felt seen. It was like finding someone who finally spoke her language, not rushing her out the door, not handing her another script, but creating a plan that felt personalized and empowering. So now that we've spoken about the switch, we move into the fourth S, which is solution. So essentially, what action did you take? Together, they built a customized treatment plan that included medical-grade skincare, advanced in-clinic treatments, and real education. Sarah learned what was triggering her breakouts, how to support her barrier, and how to work with her skin, not against it. It wasn't an overnight fix. There were ups and downs, but slowly, consistently, she started to see change. Not just in her skin, but in how she felt about herself. It was like planting a garden and watching it bloom after years of drought. Every small improvement felt like proof that she was finally on the right path. And so now that we've gone from solving that problem, we want to finish off on a strong high, which is speaking into the significance. So what is the result or the takeaway? Now, Sarah walks into rooms confidently, makeup free. She advocates for skin health on social media, and she says this journey completely transformed far more than her appearance. Because the biggest shift wasn't in the glow on her skin. It was in the pride of how she got there. She learned how to trust the process, celebrate the small wins, and stop tying her worth to quick fixes. That's the kind of story that sticks, that connects, that sells without selling. I could have changed the language there and made it around like, we worked with Sarah, as in your clinic, your studio, your salon worked with the client to get that result. But I wanted to give you an overview of how powerful storytelling is when talking about a client transformation. Now, you can also do this for anything that's gone on in your personal life. Like this could be why you started your business, why you decided to go and invest in this upskilling, why you decided to launch a course, why you decided to bring in a certain product or treatment. Like there's so many beautiful things that you can speak into from your knowledge, your experience, and your expertise. So why does this work? Because it gives people a reason to care. Your story gives context to your expertise. It turns your transformation into proof, and it lets people see themselves in you. So I've had clients who have started implementing storytelling. Instead of just posting before and after, they talk about the client they helped, the journey they've been through, the challenges they had, the treatments they offered, and then how that got them a result and what that result has done for them. Now, what do you think is going to convert? A really nice before and after photo or a whole story plus the before and after photo? The whole story, because people can actually see themselves in that position. And like when you're always posting photos or you're talking about the final result, people don't connect with that. And you know what? One of the biggest reality checks I had from one of my mentors was when he said to me, Sammy, everyone thinks you're perfect. No one's going to connect with you. And this is when I was spending so much time trying to make sure all my content was polished. I had beautiful graphics. I had high-end branded photos. And don't get me wrong, those things are important. But instead of just always showing the final product, I started documenting the journey. I started showcasing the behind the scenes, talking about the failures, pulling out the lessons from them, and then teaching what I would do differently or how I'm showing up differently and get a different result now. And so if you want to be seen as a leader or an authority in your niche, in your industry, it's not about always looking perfect because people don't trust it. Yes, doing things to a high standard is important, but you've also got to have this level of being real and vulnerable and genuine. And I think when I look at who I choose as a mentor or who I choose to bring onto this podcast or who I choose to work with, I'm looking for someone who hasn't had it all figured out, because who does? The people who can openly admit what mistakes they've made, the lessons they've learned, they have this level of self-awareness, which is so beautiful, and they can harness that to be able to help others and provide value. And so storytelling is your superpower. And just like the best movie you've ever seen, you remember how it made you feel, not the camera angle, not the lighting, but the feeling. In a world full of tips, tricks, and templated content, your story is the one thing no one else has. So make sure you use it. I really struggled with a couple of people copying all my content. If it wasn't similar branding to mine, it was the topics I was talking about. And if it wasn't the topics I was talking about, it was my tips and my how-tos. And I just felt like no matter what I did, people were just piggybacking off my content. And I'm sure if you've been in this industry, you feel the same. It always happens. But the one thing that I started really leaning into this year was talking about my personal experience. And so that's come from running the bowling alley. That's come from the 8 family businesses I've been a part of since I was 5. That's come from my own personal triumphs and failures and things I've gone and done. And you know what? People can't copy that part of me because it's me. It's my journey. It's my story. It's who I am. And if you're trying to make all your content pretty and fit in with everyone else, then yes, you're going to struggle to stand out. And you know what? You're going to be more open to having people copy your stuff. But when it's so authentically you, and I know the word authentic is thrown around all the time, but if you are true to who you are and what you've been through and the lessons you've learned and the challenges you've had to overcome, people will connect with you more. People aren't going to trust this constant level of perfection because it's not going to feel real. And who are you kidding yourself if you think you have to be perfect all the time showing up on social media? Now, I'm not saying you need to cry online. I'm not saying, tell everyone your deepest, darkest secrets and leave yourself vulnerable, but being able to strategically look at what is the message, the impact, the lesson that I want to leave here, and how can I share my experience with someone that also might be going through the same thing and want to feel a little less alone. And so here's your challenge this week. I want you to either pick a personal story or a client transformation that you've been able to help someone achieve. Doesn't matter if it's big or small. I just want you to pick one thing and share it with your audience using the 5S framework. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, okay, but Sammy, how do I do that? If you go and look on my profile, you will see that I have polished content, and then I literally have photos of me and the Instagram text. Now, look, I don't have 1 million followers. I don't get thousands of likes. But if you go and look at my saves and shares, sometimes I post might get 50 likes, but they get 20 saves. And so I'm not always looking at the actual metrics. I'm looking at the impact, the amount of conversations that come off the back end of me putting those posts up. And so I want you to go and have a look and just see how simple I've done it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be all this branded graphics and everything like that. Start off, get your list of the 5 S's. So to recap on what those 5 S's are, we've got the start, then we've got struggle, switch, solution, significance, and then write down a description of what was happening at the time and the emotions you were feeling. And then I want you to just put that into a nice story, text on a photo. If you want to make it branded and make it look perfect in Canva, go for it. But if you just want to get engagement and actually connect with your audience, literally photos representing what you're talking about or photos of you plus the Instagram text, make sure it's readable. I'm talking the font and the actual font size. That is important. and post it up. And I want you to let me know how it goes, because for all my clients who have been doing this, this is what has been helping them get out of that rut of, I'm not sure what to post, or my engagement's, not working anymore, and I feel like content is the worst. If you want to position yourself as an authority, if you want to connect with your audience, and as a result, get more clients, make more money, and actually make a greater impact in the industry, storytelling is what you need to lean into. You don't need a huge breakthrough moment, just something real and something relatable. Because when people feel like they actually know you, they trust you. And when they trust you, they buy from you. Now, until next time, remember, people don't remember boring. They remember value, experience, and feeling. So make them feel something. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Audience exclusive.